What's good, y'all? It's your boy Havoc, final round. What just happened last night? Wow, what an upset, man. Dimitri Bivol shocks the world. I had Canelo Alvarez by KO. I thought he was going to get it in the later rounds, 8 to 12. But Bivol did what I didn't think he could do, man. He did what there's a lot of unforeseen things that I didn't take account for. But you know, this is why we love this sport. This is why you just never know. It usually catches you when you least expect it, the biggest upset. You know, usually catches you when you least expect it. Same with Tiafimo and Kambosos. Everybody just kind of glossed over that fight. You know, everybody kind of glossed over that fight, and then all of a sudden Kambosos steals the victory. You know, I can't say that there wasn't a lot of people that picked Bivol, but sometimes I don't know if it's so much whether they picked Bivol because of the hate for Canelo Alvarez. But, you know, a lot of people overlooked Dimitri. A lot of people thought Canelo was going to win this fight. And you got to give Canelo credit as well for taking a dangerous fight like this. Because, let's be honest, if Canelo did find a way to win this one, it would have been glossed over by a lot of people. A lot of people said, oh, Dimitri Bivol, he's a weak light heavyweight, doesn't have punching power. You know, he was primed for Canelo. And we would have moved on, right? And kind of glossed over this. But when now looking at it, hindsight is 2020, this was an impressive, I mean, this was a huge risk for Canelo. It was a dangerous fight. It was a very dangerous fight. So you got to give him respect and props to that. But I think that he bit off a lot more than he can chew. And it's almost crazy that we were even entertaining. Now, I wasn't entertaining the idea, but there was people saying he could beat Usyk at cruiserweight or even heavyweight. It was absolutely insane. You know, Usyk is, you know, somewhat of the same stylistic issue Bivol was, but bigger and probably more stronger. You know, and the idea that we thought Canelo, I didn't think that, but there were some people saying that he could beat Usyk. That's crazy. And better be if. Like, for me, can you imagine if that was better be if last night? Oh, Canelo would have been in hell. Better be if would have been ugly. Bivol's not even the biggest puncher in that division. And Bivol hung it. And that's one of the things Bivol did. Bivol did what I thought Caleb Plant was going to do. But Caleb Plant didn't have, I don't think Caleb Plant truly believed he was going to win that fight. I don't think Caleb Plant was willing to take the risk and the chances. I don't think he had enough power. But Bivol did everything I thought Plant was going to do. You know, Bivol hung in the pocket, very efficient, very economical with his movement. Didn't freak out too much. Didn't freak out on the corner and the ropes. You know, he engaged with Canelo. He backed him down at times. He took risk. You know, he tapped up Canelo on the ropes and then he got out. Was very disciplined. You know, he did everything that. You know, there were questions out there, you guys. You know, I certainly had questions before this fight. Not this one, but the Caleb Plant fight. You know, I think Canelo has issues with guys who can move. And, you know, I gave him the benefit of the doubt for this fight. I said, you know what, Canelo's past that. He's proven me wrong multiple times. He took on Billy Joe. He took on Amir Khan. He took on Caleb Plant, who can stick and move. He beat Danny Jacobs, who moved off the back foot quite frequently in the fight with him. You know, he's faced bigger guys like Kovalev and Callum Smith, so you know he can deal with this. He's figured it out. He's evolved. He's transformed. You know, from struggling with Lara and Mayweather. But when you really look at it, man, when you really sift through that and you don't just gloss over it, okay, I'll give you Mayweather. Mayweather's Mayweather, the greatest defensive fighter. You got that excuse. You were young. Lara was alarming. He struggled with Lara. Now, do I think he beat Lara? Yes, I think he did enough to beat Lara. Lara never set his feet. Lara wasn't the ring general. Lara was moving because Canelo was telling him to move. Okay, not because Lara wanted to move. And he was dictating the pace of the tempo. But still, it was a very alarming loss because it's like, well, imagine if Lara sat down on his punches. He would have easily won that fight. But we said, all right, let's move on. Danny Jacobs, that was another fight. Like, I wanted to do a film study on Danny Jacobs, but it keeps on getting copyrighted. Danny Jacobs he doesn't get enough credit, but he presented a lot of issues to Canelo. He frustrated Canelo a lot throughout that fight. Now, Canelo won it. Don't get me wrong, easily. He won it. He got the better of the exchanges. But Danny Jacobs did a lot of things that proposed a lot of issues to Canelo, and that's something I took note of. I was like, damn, you can beat this guy. He is beatable. You know, if you know how to beat him. You know, he faced Billy Joe Saunders. You know, good fleet-footed southpaw, but at the end of the day, you guys, I mean, Billy Joe's a smaller guy, not the biggest puncher. And then Amir Khan coming up from two weight classes down, who's chinny, who's burnt out. Yeah, okay, Canelo beat him, all right. And then Caleb Plant, inexperienced, didn't have much of a resume, young, not known to be a big puncher. So, I mean, he finally ran into that dude who can box off the back foot, but had the right intangibles, okay? The right attributes, a big prime, light heavyweight, and he may not be the biggest puncher in his division, but he can punch, especially against a smaller guy who's got combinations. He had the right mind frame and the mindset. I mean, he went under the radar. Like that, actually, I think that benefited him being Russian and not speaking English, you know, fluently, and just being this low-key robotic type character, because he was just even keeled through the whole thing. The moment probably never got big for him because everybody was just overlooking him. He's just stoic character and nobody was really paying attention, but that probably helped him. He didn't have to deal with too much media like Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant had a pretty good story, man. He had a pretty inspiring story, you know, with his daughter passing and him becoming a champion. And, you know, obviously there was a lot of beef going on between him and Canelo, and that probably fired Canelo up even more. So Canelo, I mean, Caleb Plant, the spotlight got too big for him. But with Bivol, he was just stoic the whole time. Calm, cool, even collected. And, you know, we all, because of that, we all just overlooked him. A lot of us did. There were some people who picked Bivol for this fight, but a lot of us overlooked him. But he did what a lot of people think he wouldn't have done. And the crazy thing is, I didn't see the whole fight in its entirety, but I don't even think he went down to the body consistently round after round. If he did, he would have knocked Canelo out. That's the crazy part. He didn't even go downstairs that much. But one thing that I did not foresee that really was the unforeseen factor was he defended the body shots of Canelo Alvarez very well. Now, that can be a few things. I can't quite pinpoint it what it is. It might be a combination of things. But I think it could have been a combination of his jab, being effective with his jab. You know, obviously being a young prime light heavyweight, the size may have been an issue. The combination of that, the combination of jabs, the combination of combination punching, the footwork, you know, the speed of Bivol kept Canelo at bay. And I think somewhat the guard of Bivol. He has kind of like these gangly, dangling arms, and that cages his body fairly well. You know, one of the reasons I thought Caleb Plant may be able to stay in that fight and make it interesting with Canelo was because he was using that Philly shell to guard his body, right? He was going to protect his body at all costs. And I didn't see that Bivol, his body was, his arms cage his body very well. His elbows come down and there's not much to hit. And I would see some of those right hooks to the body, which one of the things I said before the fight, look for that right hook to the hip. You know that's going to be Canelo's key punch. For some reason, it just looked deflated every time Canelo landed it. I don't quite know what that was. I'll say this, Canelo did not look sharp as he usually does. You know, I'm questioning what was going on sometimes, and that's why I say, man, you never know in the sport, man. You never know. It could just be a bad night. You know, the stars align. We saw with Kambosos versus Teofimo Lopez. Sometimes things just happen and they line up perfectly for an upset. And I don't know what's going on with Canelo, but he certainly didn't look the same. Is it because he's off the steroids? I'm not accusing him, you guys. I'm not accusing him, but I'm just saying. He did not look the way he usually does. He didn't look as sharp, as quick. I saw him against Kovalev. That was at light heavyweight. He looked a lot faster, quicker. He didn't look fatigued. Now, but let's not take credit away from Bivol, because I think Bivol was the main reason why Canelo didn't look the same. But it was just very interesting to me that Canelo, he looked slower. He looked fatigued. You know, it makes you wonder, you know, is the weight, carrying that weight, catching up to him? Did he get fat and happy? You know, did he train properly? And I think it's probably a combination of everything. But at the end of the day, you got to give Bivol a lot of props and a lot of credit, because I think he was the main culprit to why Canelo Alvarez did not look the same in this fight. He utilized his jabs, combinations. He was very calm and composed, stood his ground, backed Canelo down at times, you know, took chances, you know. He boxed masterfully. But it was just weird how Canelo, his punches looked deflated every time he landed. But that just could be the size discrepancy. And like I said, yeah, Canelo's done this to bigger guys before, but not like this. Not a bigger guy like this. Canelo looked like a little brother trying to beat up his big brother last night. It really looked that way. Because every time Canelo threw punches, it was like, Bivol was like, all right, that's all you got? I thought those body shots would be way more effective, and they just fell flat. It was weird because he was even hitting Bivol's arm, and it just wasn't, it didn't have that same effectiveness. It was crazy to think that he broke Callum Smith's arm, and then he was hitting Bivol's arm, and it just, like, once again, it looked deflated. I'm just saying, you guys, I don't know the supplements. I don't know if there was a change in, I think he went vegan or something, but, you know, I'm just saying he didn't look as sharp as he usually does. I think Bivol's the main reason, but I don't want to say steroids. He got off the sauce, but that didn't look like the fast, powerful, you know, sharp Canelo I'm used to seeing. Did it? Makes me question some things. But, dude, congrats to Bivol, man. What a champion. But Bivol has to be careful, too, because, yes, he beat one of the pound-for-pound best fighters in the world, or who is considered the pound-for-pound. But this is a fight. I think that styles make fights, and I think that you can't forget that Canelo's a little dude coming up in weight, and if better, I don't know if he's going to take, there's going to be a rematch between these two or not, but I think he'll probably go roughly around the same way, if not worse, for Canelo. But I'm just saying, you guys, Bivol has to be careful, especially he goes into an undisputed matchup with Beterbiev. Beterbiev is going to come with some different fire, man. 100% KO ratio, if I'm not mistaken. That's some different fire right there. He's a true light heavyweight. All right? And his punches are going to feel a lot different from Canelo Alvarez. And like I said, it was crazy we were entertaining the idea that Canelo can face Usyk or Beterbiev. That would have been a slaughtering, especially with Beterbiev. Well, Usyk would have done the same too, but I think Bivol needs to be very careful over this victory. It was a great victory, but you know, he's got a dog in Beterbiev coming up. Okay. And in terms of the rematch, if Canelo did rematch with Bivol, I think he would have to box. You know, that's one thing I was shocked of in this fight. When you watch the Danny Jacobs fight with Canelo, one of the things that I liked what he did with Danny Jacobs, he showed another strain of boxing. We saw more head movement. We saw great footwork. We saw, you know, good defense and good counters when he went up against Danny Jacobs, and Danny Jacobs got aggressive. And when Canelo can just walk Danny Jacobs down, he changed up the tempo and the rhythm, and he boxed a little bit more. If there is a rematch, I think Canelo's going to have to box a little bit more in this rematch, just like he did with Triple G as well. He didn't just try to walk Bivol. He shouldn't just try to walk Bivol down. Okay? He should box in that fight. You know, but he's definitely going to have to show up in better shape, man, if he's going to do that. But once again, let's not take credit away from Bivol. I think Bivol did a lot of things to make Canelo uncomfortable, to make him not look the same like he usually does. And I think it's going to be hard for Canelo to box with Bivol, even if he does come into the next fight with a different game plan, because I think Bivol's jab is a lot better than I thought. Very effective, and I think he has good power to deal with Canelo Alvarez, and good speed and good combinations. And it's going to be hard for Canelo to get past that. It's going to be hard for him to get through that toll. You know, sometimes it's the perfect matchup, and it's just a nightmare for Canelo. Because even if he does sit there and try to box on the outside with Bivol or mid-range, you know, he's got to deal with the combinations. He's got to deal with that jab. He's got to deal with the size, and that he's not just going to bully his opponent and knock him out. He's got to deal with all those things. So if I'm Canelo, I go back down, man. I go back down. Go face Benavidez. Go face Charlo. Something like that. Go back down. You know, you took a risk. Respect. You know, but go back down and handle business. You know, maybe later you can come up and do another rematch, but you know, for me, I think Canelo needs to go back down. I just think this is not his weight class. Yeah, you beat Kovalev, you know, but that was Kovalev. That was burnt out Sergey Kovalev. This is a different ball game when you start hitting the elite levels, man. So, yeah. Let's go back down. And Bivol, he needs to remember, like, yeah, you beat the pound for pound best fighter in the world, but he's not a natural light heavyweight. Beterbiev is going to be a different monster, but I certainly do give Bivol a huge chance compared to what I did before against Beterbiev. I wasn't that crazy about Bivol. I didn't think he would beat a guy like Beterbiev, but seeing those type of boxing skills he displayed and knowing that he's probably going to crescendo into confidence into a fight like that, I give him a good fight. That may be a 50-50 fight. He may even need to favor Bivol because of the boxing ability and the footwork. But he's not going to be able to sit at the same range he did with Canelo, and he's going to be, you know, he's going to be getting hit with some nasty power punches by Beterbiev. You know, I think Beterbiev will be able to hurt Bivol compared to Canelo. So this is my thought on the fight, and I stand corrected, but I love it, man, because this is what makes boxing great. You just never know. You never know. The stars align, and big upsets can happen. You know, all it takes is one punch, or all it takes is one bad night, you know, for things to get crazy. So tell me what you guys think. Like the video, comment down below, subscribe. If you're new, cheers to my current subscribers and cheers to my future ones. This is your boy Habit. Final round. Get at me.